Well. Hello, friends. This is me summoning Tom, who's literally in the other room as we speak. He's not late, he's here. You know what time it is. It's same time, same place, every
Hello.
week. I knew that would get your
I wasn't
attention.
paying attention.
90% of the time when I do say, hey, we're about to go live, you go, okay, 1 minute. Wait.
No.
So, there was
I'm
going
here
to be
now.
none of that. So, hello, friends. Happy Tuesday. It is Dork Discourse Tuesday. Get up. Gang's all here. We have Stanley's popping in, Charlie, Sean, Alice. I saw in the pregame. Sal, let's go. I saw that Bird Church strapping in after not expecting to be here. That's awesome. Jason Olsen. I saw Daniel Berry. Let's get it. Gang's all
Whole crew.
here. Thank you all so much for showing up and showing out for another beautiful Tuesday evening here in the Dork Discourse pod. I'm so excited for today because we actually get to discuss The Penguin, which I know I had disclaimed to you guys last week. We couldn't mention a word of it because we had not watched episode 4, which after we had gone live last Tuesday, it came out that it was rated a 9.5 out of 10 on IMDb, if I'm not mistaken. Did you see that?
Mm.
It is, I think, the highest rated episode of a television show, at least on the IMDb scale. Tonight, the main event is the Penguin mid-season review. Yes, so I did look up to confirm that this is the new norm for HBO now, for everything seemingly, is 8 episodes, which is fine. But they've
There's only been 4 episodes of Penguin?
There's been 5 after this week, so technically we're a little bit over the midway point.
Okay.
Retro's here. I was planning to go to sleep because I am ill. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm still up. This perhaps demonstrates the depth of my inability to act in my own interest. Well, y'all know what I always say. Do not self-induce sleep deprivation in our name. But we're always happy to have you here. So,
Or do if you're having nightmares and you don't want to sleep.
True, if that's the
Happy to help.
answer.
Happy to keep you up.
If that's the answer to all your problems, then by all means. So yes, we're here to discuss today. And talk about how epic this show has been. I think, and I'm glad that we finally caught up. We had 2 episodes to watch this week. So yes, it is a little bit over the halfway point as of this week. We have episodes 6, 7, and 8. So only 3 left. So actually the home stretch, but they've already turned up the heat a frick ton. I mean, I've enjoyed every episode thus far, and it has done quite a lot of building, of course, but things have really started to dial up, and the show, in a way, is... They're 2 very completely different shows, but it is very reminiscent in regards to House of the Dragon when it comes to... You don't know who to root for, necessarily, because they're all terrible, and they're lighting people on fire! Willy-nilly! Wasn't expecting that, so... Let's get in, and of course, we want to hear from you guys.
I forgot about that.
You forgot about that?
Yeah.
It was like one of the craziest moments of this week's episode. Oh, also
There
spoiler.
was a lot of crazy moments.
I should have said spoiler alert. Sorry, because I know Alice has not caught up. I'm so sorry. I should have disclaimed. Ay, Disney shills. I wish. I'm honored that you think... Oh, look at Charlie. He's lightning fast.
Why even bring it attention? Now Vespa got under your skin, and you just made them happy. Don't even get attention. We're talking about the Penguin.
It's just hilarious because we're not even discussing that. I'm honored that you came here and wasted your precious energy to comment that. Thank you. Still blows my mind that Cobblepot is Colin Farrell. I know, the performances are absolutely epic and stacked so far, and obviously with the prosthetics, and I know I've said it before, but you truly do forget that it's freaking Colin Farrell under there.
Yeah.
Accent and everything. It's absolutely wild. Now you're DC shells. Yes, Sal. We have turned to the DC side, and it is certainly delivering. It's making me feel like I want to watch more. I don't know, more of this. Is there another world? Because I've not actually really been that versed in the DC universe when it comes to the Justice League and all those movies. Like, are they in line with this, or is this in a league of its own? Because I am very much... I mean, obviously, the Batman, Joker, I would hold up that they're on a similar wavelength. And the Batman...
Well, it's in the Batman universe.
But it's kind of... That one...
Show. is totally in
is
the
kind of
Batman universe.
operating in.
They all do. The DC universe is the same characters, but different stories and different takes on the stories repeated over and over and over again.
But they operate independently of each other, correct?
It's like Marvel, superhero movies. Same as Spider-Man. We've gotten 3 different major Spider-Man blockbuster movies that tell kind of the same story,
But as
but a little
Sal
bit
is saying,
different.
the Batman is separate from everything, which I thought was the case. It is in its own little stratosphere.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Anyway, before we continue, from Sean, member for Holy Spirit, 12 months, a year, wow, and overall 4 years and a few months in this community, just amazing. Heck yeah, it's completely grateful for you two and this community, and I can't wait for many more years here and more. I agree, Sean. Frick yes, I can't believe, oh my gosh, it's already been a year. That is bonkers to me, but thank you so much.
That's well said, Sean.
So much for being a very valued member of our community here.
Couldn't agree more.
We are grateful for you. DC is the best. Let's go. Come to the right side. Oh, here we are. We've unleashed the Marvel versus DC. Which I've always thought about doing those for reactions on the channel because I've never watched Justice League or any of those DC films like Batman v Superman. I have not watched any of those. So I could be overdue for some very embarrassingly delayed reactions late to that game. Farrell said that he hated the process of suiting up, says Birdchurch. But after the love for the show, I reckon he'd do another season. That is one thing. This show will win awards, especially for Farrell and Milioti. Yeah, Kristen Milioti. We'll freaking talk about her. But that is one thing I failed to research that I was curious if any of you guys had intel about. Is this only going to be, I don't know if it was pitched as just a limited series, or perhaps they were going to get a feel for it and see the success, to see the reception.
Shout out Stella for subscribing.
Let's go, Stella. Let's go. Do it, Kat, says Charlie in regards to all the DC stuff. Yeah, I have some work to do there. Jerry has joined us. Let's get it. Good evening. Kat and Tom, what is up, everyone else? Good to have you here, Jerry.
What's going on, Jerry?
Lord Insidious is here. I love that username. DC is finally getting its due. Thank the Hollywood gods for Reeves and Farrell and Milioti. For real, they are absolutely bringing it. And I do think one element of this show that I'd frankly like to see more, like now that this is becoming the norm of, in this instance, you know, we got the movie franchise first with the Batman, Pattinson, and now this was a spinoff from that. And correct me if I'm wrong, folks, but I think there's also going to be a, holy smokes, what his name? Jeffrey Wright spinoff for his character as well. The correct Gordon.
Oh.
I think. Somebody fact check that for me, but I feel like
Gordon.
Yes. But I feel like I had also read previously that there were whispers of a spinoff for his character too. But if this is going to be the new norm, which it's happening now in the vice versa, you know, reverse order for Peaky Blinders, the Peaky Blinders universe, but that was introduced first as a show, is now getting a film. Mandalorian, first introduced as a show, now getting a film. I think one reason this show has been absolutely epic is because I think it successfully is living up to the standard of the movie.
Yep.
Which, admittedly, not that I wasn't excited when they pitched this show, but Oz, you know, the Penguin doesn't necessarily have the, you know, he's a crucial part of the movie, but he's very much like supporting, you know. The main antagonist, of course, is Riddler and whatnot and all of that, but you know, for Penguin to get a spinoff, it was like interesting because there's room for him to have some inner workings, but his character still had a lot of room to be fleshed out in the actual film, I would argue. So not that I wasn't necessarily excited about it, but I think it has totally exceeded my expectations and proven, whoa, this is a character that has so much freaking, admittedly also maybe I'm just ill-informed because I don't know much about the Penguin's backstory, and you know, obviously they focus quite a lot on his childhood and whatnot in this show, so all of that character baggage that he has that has shaped him into this kind of power-hungry, you know, mischievous, he's very conniving, very sneaky, but I would say...
And he has a nice car.
Not anymore.
Nice purple Maserati.
He had. Nice. That is past tense now after this week. Again, sorry, spoilers. True. I probably should have disclaimed that. I apologize in the title. It is doing crazy ratings on HBO, and they want more shows from the Batman. So season 2 is possible, says Sal. I think that would be wise.
Or they don't need a season 2, and it ties into whatever they're doing with the Batman movie sequel. Right? Like, they might just be fleshing out backstory and characters, and then they're just going to have a more prevalent role in the sequel.
True,
perhaps.
yes. But then that becomes, see, that will be interesting to wait it out and see, because for how good this show is and how incredibly, that the Batman itself, that movie was incredible. One of the most highly anticipated, and I think lived up to the hype films. And the anticipation for the second, sequel is incredibly high. I feel like the caliber of this show and that movie, I would hate to see it become another a codependent cycle of, well, now you gotta watch Penguin. Yeah, would that be in their best interest? Because then HBO gets more subscribers or whatever, anyone who wants to go see the Batman then has to watch Penguin in order to.
You don't have to. If you're interested in the characters and you want more backstory, then you can choose to go do it.
But you're suggesting this would play out. If I'm interpreting correctly, what you just said is that this could feed into plot points for a sequel. Is that what you're saying?
Maybe subtle plot points, but more so just using the characters. Like, if these characters are if it's gonna be, okay, who takes power now that top dog Falcone is dead? Who's gonna assume that a power vacuum? Who's gonna take control in the power vacuum? And then they show up in the Batman sequel. And it's like, okay, you don't have to go into all this backstory that the show is going into. You can just say, oh, this is Falcone's crazy daughter, savage, brutal, maniacal daughter takes over in his absence. And then in an opening scene of her, she does something brutal, maniacal, calculative.
Calculated, you think?
Calculative.
You think calculated is the word you wanted to use there?
I definitely wanted to use calculative.
I don't think
do something, then she's just like, wow, just comes out, guns blazing, shocks the audience. And like, yeah, if you know the show, you know that's in line with her character. If you don't know the show, you're like, oh wow, okay, who is she? She's crazy. And then it sets the stage, and then you can just pick up the story. But if you don't have that moment that makes the people who don't know her character aware of who she is right out of the gate, then it won't work as well.
Right.
Kind of, I think a good comparison would be like Thrawn in Ahsoka. Like, for Thrawn, everybody who knows who Thrawn is from Rebels and the books and all that knows that Thrawn is incredibly calculative and
sweet Jesus, that's not a word.
Brutal and menacing. But in the Ahsoka show, if you haven't seen all those shows, if you don't know who Thrawn is, he kind of walks out. The Night Sisters do all the dirty work, and then he flees, and you don't really see his calculative, tactitive.
Please, for the love of God, stop saying that.
Militarial nature.
Tactives. You're saying so many not words right now. You are spewing absolute brain rot.
I know English.
Oh my God.
You don't have
calculative is a word. Frick.
Let's go.
My mom just fact checked the shiz out of me.
Let's go.
No.
Fact check your daughter. Fact check her. Let's
go. God.
The other ones I might have made up, but that one. Let's go. Anyway.
Ace Moonshot coming in.
He hasn't had that moment in Ahsoka yet, so you don't know his character as much. Versus if it had come out and the first shot of him is actually showing what he's made of and what he can do, then I think the general audience would have that greater sense of fear for Thrawn. So they could totally do something like this with Sophia in the Batman show. Fair. Where it opens up and it's like, well, who replaced Big Daddy Falcone? And then it cuts to Sophia like wringing someone's neck out or something. I mean, shooting someone else straight in the face like she did with what's his face. She kept tied up in the basement. Yeah, like if it just opens her straight away doing that, then the general audience instantly is standing at attention. Like, okay, Sophia, you're the boss.
Yeah.
Whatever you say goes.
I think where I'm trying to get at is this show. It's funny because when we were previously, the last time we discussed this show, it was still early days, and I think we had pitched to you guys, will we be seeing Robert Pattinson? Will there be any allusion to Batman in this show? You know, it was still early, getting a feel for like what the trajectory of the season was going to be. Now I feel like this show has proven itself that it takes enough from the movie to create a foundation while still fleshing out some, you know, not necessarily overlooked elements of the movie, but aftermath of the tragedy in Gotham that they couldn't necessarily address at the time, but you see more on the smaller scale in the, you know, in the neighborhoods, you know, that were severely impacted by that, you know, getting some more fleshed out backstory for the actual loss of life and destruction that was enacted upon the city. Like, it has taken foundational parts of the movie and fleshed them out even more to make the movie, even like to go back and rewatch that moment now in the film, is totally more enriched, I feel like, with what we see from the tragedy that ensues in the show. And so now that we've seen more of the show and how fleshed out it's getting, I'm gonna venture to say, like, this show doesn't even need Batman. Like, this can operate independent. Well, I mean, it's still drawing from the movie, but it can operate in its own league without having to, like, use that as a crutch. Like, I'm not even watching for a Batman cameo. At this point, I feel like that would be, like, irrelevant and unimportant.
Yeah.
I care about these characters. This is, like, the villain's game here, y'all. Like, I don't need the hero to make an appearance. I'm trying to pick which villain I'm rooting for.
No.
So all that's to say, like, I think that, you know, we'll see where this goes with the sequel. But in terms of the show, it has certainly exceeded my expectations, and that's my honest, actual, like, first impression of when the series was announced. I was like, yeah, I'll watch it, but I was just very laissez-faire about it. Like, I wasn't like, oh my god, must see, I can't freaking wait. Now I'm like, holy frick, the show has me gripped in a chokehold. It's actually, like, incredible.
It is.
Actually bonkers how great this show freaking is, and I think it's because it has the similar complex of House of the Dragon. It is the villains. You're deciding who's the lesser of all the freaking evils here. And that was something about House of the Dragon that I know not inhibited people's enjoyment, but so many people were like, I can't freaking take sides here. They're all bad. They're all committing war crimes. It's all, who do you root for morally, you know? And this is why Colin is why I even bothered. Like, perfectly said, Ace Moonshot. Like, cast is amazing, and for the characters that they've introduced, and, you know, tapping in more to Sophia Falcone and her story. And I know Alice commented earlier that she deserves a freaking second season. Yes, I love the female mob boss, says Jay, referring to Sophia. I'm sure. Talk about standout performance, unexpected highlight of this frickin' show, and I think it's no coincidence that the highest rated episode so far of any television series ever on IMDb is the episode dedicated to her that she frickin' carried on her back, where you see from start to finish, like, the molding of, you know.
And it was intense.
It was.
Her molding was intense and complete twist of what we were set up to believe in the first few episodes of her basically getting forced into this life because of her father. And the framing and all of that was totally out of left field. And then every scene in Arkham itself was, like, crazy. Like, we get the glimpses of Arkham in the Batman movie, but not too much. Not too much. And they really set the tone in that episode for what Arkham is actually like in this universe.
Yeah.
The corruption, just the intensity and the relationships between the inmates, so intense and
well,
haunting.
and also the helplessness. I think they did a really, yes, Ace says it perfectly. Sophia's quite sympathetic, and, like, let's be real, when they introduce her character, you know, the decade prior to her tenure in, you know, Arkham, where she starts before, like, you know, she's not innocent. She's obviously very aware of her family's business and what they do for a living. It's clear she's incredibly spoiled, you know, has everything handed to her on a silver platter obviously still has these aspirations to inherit the family, you know, title and everything, her father's throne. And the second shiz hits the fan and she's handcuffed and taken to jail and is face to face with the reality of, oh, frick, you know, what she's entrenched in now, what her father has, you know, essentially weaved this whole orchestration that has essentially come to bite her in the butt. And she's a scapegoat in a sense. You do see a little bit of like their spoiled nature coming out because it's clear how untouchable they are, like how the inner workings and deals they have with the police, like during her arrests. Like it's clear that they pay off the police, or they're just untouchable. Well, that was
like the whole theme of the Batman movie.
That's true. That's true.
The deep-rooted corruption in the justice system and law enforcement that Falcone and his minions have. So
yeah, so they're operating in like this top tier, you know, status of immunity. So it did really paint the picture of how, you know, you do feel for her, but they go to show that she's like spoiled and her hands aren't clean of the benefits that she has reaped being a member of this family and the horrific ways in which they make their money that she is benefiting off of. So while they don't necessarily introduce her as like this angel, they show, you know, her aspirations and that she's using her status for good to advocate for women's health and everything before shiz hits the fan. So to then see her transformation, but more so, yeah, I think
the whole reveal of Falcone and everything was just so masterfully crafted.
Yeah,
with the setup, like literally starting with a fundraiser for women's mental health, and then it completely
the reality
completely derails
the reality
of
the situation. You know, it's all a facade, and whether she believes that or not, or whether she, you know, I mean, it kind of shows her true attitude at the end as she's leaving this, you know, speaking gig that she is obligated to do. You know, she kind of just has to show face. It's heavily implied that perhaps that's not her passion in life, and she's kind of just there as a spokesperson and clocks in, clocks out, takes her check, and then bounces. But it still paints her as a very, very, very different character versus what she has become. And I think there's something about female villains in particular, just seeing her snap, to eliminate, you know, her whole family, because nobody expects that. Everyone expects her to come back from Arkham, do as she's told, fly off to Lake Como. You know, she could have a clean out and go spend the rest of her life living it up in Italy. You know, it's the unexpected with her. Just when you think you have her assessed, because the second she's introduced, you know that she's like, you're on eggshells around her, because it's clear she's an adversary. She's like kryptonite a little bit, like a weak spot for Oz. And so now to really see the way in which he effed her over, I was like, well, dang. The whole time you're afraid of her and what she could do to bring him down and foil his master plans here. After we get the backstory, I'm like, dang, am I still rooting for him? How do I feel about him after this?
Yeah. I mean, he knows that he was totally caught in a pickle because the Maronis, right? That's the family. Mm-hmm. The Maronis. She rolls up, Mama Maroni rolls up and divulges the secret. So he obviously knows that he is completely screwed either way. It's either they're going to kill him or Sophia's going to kill him. So opportunity strikes and he bounces. So, you know, the jig was up eventually. And in that moment, it was like, all right, yep, I got to make a decision. But now clearly he's afraid and clearly he's fearful, gathering his mob and his loyal followers and trying to, set up the defensive and hide out in the flooded part of town.
Is he that fearful though? I mean, obviously, yeah, this is a big blow to him because so far everything has been going according to his plan. Even when you think things are kind of going haywire, you realize, or you come to see that it's all orchestrated by him and it's actually playing exactly how he anticipated it would. You know, even Sophia just literally eliminating her entire bloodline, her entire family. That's exactly what he had planned, to drive her to this brink to somehow, so that she would do the dirty work for him. You know, that was a big dub for him. I think that was all according to his plans, to wipe them off the map. I think this is the biggest blow to him so far, of the attempted assassination of the Maroni boss in jail failing and him getting out. So now Oz is definitely on the chopping block. That's kind of, I think, the first true unanticipated, blow to his plans. But that's another interesting thing about the show. You can't tell, because he's so good at putting on the facade of that he knows everyone underestimates him, so he plays into that, and he plays dumb, and he gives them just enough of his, unsuspecting, conniving, weaseling behavior that everyone knows him for to satisfy them, to let them think that they have the upper hand over him, that they can outsmart him. And then you get the reveal that it was all his intention. Everything is all part of that. Like, the act is part of it. So I never know what is going according to his plans or not, but I think they've made it clear this is the first time that he's legitimately, like, in over his head, and so at risk to the point that he needs to evacuate his own mother. But I mean, like, if it's Oz versus Sophia, yes, you could argue she had a chance to make amends with her family and, like, turn a new leaf upon getting out of Arkham. She chose not to freaking do that because they were still trying to push her under the rug, push her aside, shove her out of the picture. So she's claiming what's hers. So now it's like, all right, I support women's wrongs. I support her wrongs. Like, you go get your bag, girl. You take what's yours.
She did.
But
she certainly did that.
To see, yes, could you argue that Oz didn't necessarily have a choice at the time when he was simply her chauffeur, to look at where he is now and to see that that was the catalyst for him gaining all that power, essentially not turning her in, but narking to her father, ratting her out. Granted, you could also argue, did he have a choice? I think he would suggest that he probably doesn't. In that situation, was he anticipating? I think all the status that he gained from that, the trust of the Falcones, wasn't unanticipated. Or was it? It's been made clear that since his frickin' youth, he's been gunning for the top.
No.
So, whether he knew of the, unintended... I do genuinely think he had absolutely no idea that Sophia was going to go to frickin' Arkham for 10 years. I do believe he didn't think that was in the cards.
Probably not.
But I am especially scared now. They've built it up so that you're on edge of who to necessarily root for, but I'm rooting for all of them a little bit, which is interesting. It's like, yeah, I want Sophia to friggin' take what's hers. Now that you see where she started and what she endured, unnecessarily for 10 years in a mental hospital where she never should have been in the first place. It's like, go get your revenge, girl. Like, freaking take it. But now it's at the cost of foiling Oz's plans and him being in danger. So curious to see. I'm so petrified to see. Like, that's what's been so good about this show. Just when you think how far they're all willing to go, even for Oz, willing to House of the Dragon, the half of the Maroni bloodline, they still, that HBO shock factor comes out, y'all. It's definitely tapping into, don't forget this is an HBO production. We are not afraid to push it to the limit.
To go dark.
Yes.
And they went dark. There's a lot of stuff that was dark.
Sorry, go ahead.
So one question that I have is, I mean, we know that Selina Kyle, aka Catwoman, from the Batman movie, is some, foster child of Falcone,
yeah,
right?
They're technically half sisters.
So does Selina Kyle show back up and have something to say about Sophia Falcone taking power? Because in the Batman, Catwoman and Batman ride off opposite sections or opposite ways on their motorcycles.
Yeah, she bounced. She got out of Dodge.
I don't know, just a thought.
She could come back into the equation. Perhaps. A thought. If I was Sophia, I would do whatever the heck I need to make Penguin pay, but very slowly, right? Like, are we all a little bit, like, on her side? Jay says, if I was her, I would be so pissed I'd be out for blood. Exactly, and she was. Ace says, I love me some good revenge. So it's hard to not be on Team Sophia, but the show is called The Penguin. So I'm happy whoever comes out on top. Hi from California. What's up, neighbor? Even though we could be 10 hours away, neighbors.
Yep.
But what's up, state neighbor? Wickety split. Alice says, if Selena showed up, they'd need to get the same chick. Oh, and Zoe probably doesn't have time for that. Yeah, that would be a big surprise.
She's not that busy, is she?
She's like directing her own work now. So yeah, I think she's busy. She's a working actress. Yeah, and she's like going behind the camera now. I think she just had her directorial debut. I could be very wrong.
Because I didn't know who she was before Batman.
Are you for real?
No.
She has a huge career.
I don't know. I don't know who she was. She did fantastic. She was awesome in Batman.
Yeah.
Maybe one of the best parts. I mean, the club. I'll never. Immediately, the scene that comes in my head is at the ice lounge, the club scene. She's got the wig on. She's going undercover, and she's walking through the lounge to the club music.
That's it.
It's just hilarious.
Just that scene.
And then it cuts to Batman, John Wick style, beating the life out of everybody to the club music, and then Penguin breaks him up. It's great. I love the ice lounge.
I wanted to be
Iceberg
her
Lounge, Iceberg Lounge.
So bad for Halloween, but now I want to be freaking Sophia Falcone, y'all. I'm about to buy like a mullet shag wig, do some crazy. It's actually very interesting. I was watching a video yesterday that she did an interview with W Magazine, and she was describing how, you know, she was, I assume, involved in like the costuming and makeup process, and how she obviously has this very, you know, intense gothic look to her. You know, it's a very hardcore, dark eyeliner, dark eyeshadows. In the last episode, she kind of has this like war paint, as she calls it, you know, for her eyeliner when she's unleashed fully to take the throne of the family name. Actually, she changed the family name. You know, she took her mother's name now, but when she's taken what's hers, you know, and she was, Kristen Milioti was saying how like everything about her is designed to exude like the chic, you know, like, yes, that she's like dripping with all of this, you know, wealth and power, but you know, her makeup, you know, is very specifically kind of like a war paint for her. Like she knows she's going into battle. So it was very cool to hear her talk more about that. So I want to freaking be her for Halloween. Stay tuned, y'all. It was Catwoman the other year. Now it's Sophia Falcone. But I think Sal...
Should I be your brother?
That would not be good.
In the trunk of the car.
Oh my god. Sal said in regards to...
I'll be Penguin getting tortured.
Ow. Sal says, I'm going to say no in regards to Catwoman returning, because Selena wanted nothing to do with the Falcone family and Carmine himself, and she probably knows nothing of that side of the family. I am going to agree, Sal. I think even if she were to turn on the news and see that they all got wiped out in one horrific, tragic gas leak event, she'd probably be happy and peace out, you know?
Yeah, but maybe it would be motivation for her to try and take the throne back for herself.
I don't think she wants any.
We're talking like it's a throne. It's not a throne. This isn't Game of Thrones. This isn't House of Dragons.
Alice agrees with you, though. She says, I think she's probably one of the best Catwoman. Like, top 2, maybe, if not number 1. But I love Halle Berry. You got it right. It's Halle Berry. Which is an unpopular opinion. Catwoman cameo makes so much more sense than Batman. I do agree, Anatar. At this point, again, I know that we were talking... early on in the season, if Batman would make an appearance, I think there's no room for that, nor even a necessity. Like, if there's absolutely zero allusion to Batman at all for the rest of the show, I won't even give a crap. Like, this can totally operate on its own.
Yeah, I think if anything, there would be more villain cameos that are seeing this power vacuum and they're going to try and get a piece. Like, I think that's likely where they're going to go. I mean, we know that Joker is in Arkham.
That's
true. We
know
that Riddler is in Arkham, so perhaps they're not involved.
Maybe.
They wouldn't be involved. But who do we know that's not in Arkham? I mean, a Poison Ivy, Mr. Freeze,
good handful.
Scarecrow, Harvey Dent, Two-Face.
Well, no, right?
What do you mean no?
Isn't he?
Did he die in Batman movie?
I think so.
Did he?
Yes,
I don't think so.
he does.
Harvey Dent is he in Batman movie?
Which
Harvey Dent?
which one are you? Which Batman?
Battinson.
Harvey Dent.
I don't
I
think
don't
so.
think they've introduced.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're suggesting there's still potential?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we know in the Dark Knight that Harvey Dent
Yeah.
is, he meets his maker, but I don't think he was introduced in his first bathroom. Batman.
You know, he could be. Why do I feel like I saw?
So I think that other villains could potentially show up, and that would probably make more sense than Batman
Harvey could be
having
introduced.
a presence.
We'll see. We will see. I just wanted to acknowledge and thank Wickety Split for being here, coming off of my Exorcist video, and I was laughing after the movie when you said I missed the person I was before I watched this. Listen, y'all, I might do a little tier list after Reactober and rank the films in terms of scares and whatnot, but I'm shocked to confess that I actually would be very willing to rewatch Exorcist at that point. The fear has worn off, and now I can recognize it for what a good film it actually is. And of course, also like reading the comments from a lot of the people who watched that video enlightened me and gave me some new perspective, and you know, to see how culturally, I know it was culturally iconic, but it's been fun to read, you know, the comments coming in, reaching a new demographic with that video. But thank you for being here from that. I'm pleased to report that I have fully recovered from that, and so stay tuned. I think I want to do a little tier list ranking of all my scares this month. We still got 3 to go, folks, and we'll see if I freaking make it.
Yeah, Scarecrow fitting with the drug scene. That's good. Theory Moonshot, I think Scarecrow would be a good fit.
Yeah.
Potential.
There's no way Harvey Dent's in the Batman. Yeah, the DA who died in the Batman was, that's right, Gil Colson. Usually in the comics, Harvey was his assistant DA, so we could definitely see him soon. That's fair.
There's a power vacuum in the DA's office. Harvey Dent could rise up.
That's fair.
He could rise up. That would make sense. Maybe that's what they're setting up for Batman 2. Perhaps that's what they're setting up.
Yes. So yeah, I think in terms of where we are now, there's 3 episodes left, but they've already really turned up the notch. In terms of this new forged alliance between Sophia and the Maronis, I am a little bit cautious. I'm curious if she genuinely believes and actually truly has the motivation and intention of, let's put all the past aside, all the bloodshed and everything, all the bad blood, and work together because we have a freaking common enemy now, freaking Penguin. We both want his head on a pike, so let's tag team for this. But part of me, I don't know how to assess where her brain's at here and whether this is optimistic or both of them would have an ulterior motive. You know, Maroni right now is obviously very weakened, extremely vulnerable from what Penguin has done to his family. Sophia's got a little bit of, I don't know if she's got leverage necessarily, but I'm hesitant to believe that they could actually forge some sort of peaceful alliance. I want to believe that she knows that that's wishful thinking and has a deeper intention with all of this, other than optimistically thinking that they could tag team here. But I'm curious because, well, she knows she already effed up. She knows she already made the mistake of trusting Oz again. And, you know, divulging
she got slapped in the face with that truth.
Yeah, well, especially if you see what he did to her in the past, it gives way more meaning to the fact that she was willing to shake his hand again and be like, all right, let's partner up to take down my family. You know, seeing the way he did her dirty 10 years prior, it definitely shines a new light on the fact that, whoa, like, that's huge that she was freaking willing to trust him yet again. And then you only feel bad for her when you realize that she's like, she effed up even more by, you know, partnering with him a second time, and he only screwed her over again. Yep. I want to read this comment from Sal because y'all have been actually commenting sharing great recommendations so far when we were saying earlier that we want to watch more stuff like this. Sal is saying if you want a DC horror show, I recommend Swamp Thing from 2019. Got canceled after the first episode because the budget was way too big, but still was a great show. Definitely recommended. Canceled after the first episode. That stinks. But that would explain why I've never heard of it. So perhaps. And I saw a lot of you guys talking about the series Gotham, which maybe we'll watch after this because I've heard amazing things about that too. And of course, Cameron Monaghan's performance as Joker in that. I think I've just watched compilation videos of his best moments just because his acting looks absolutely phenomenal in that show and in that role. So who knows? Maybe if we're feeling some withdrawal after this, the next few weeks when this show comes to an end, we will embark on that.
Isn't it? I mean, the Joker in Arkham in Batman was like Barry. What's his face?
Barry Keoghan.
Yeah.
I don't know the proper way to say his last name.
That's who Matt Reeves cast as the Joker.
Yes.
So wouldn't it be him?
No,
who shows up as the Joker in this show?
In Gotham, the other TV show, Cameron Monaghan plays the Joker.
Okay.
So I'm saying after this show ends, to have something to fill the void, I might finally go and actually watch that series.
I see.
Because you guys have always talked very highly about that show. Those of you who have watched it. What if their team up is all part of Penguin's plan? Right? It's like the show keeps you on edge just when you think you're on his train of thought and you know what his next move might be. It goes to show that everything, even the things you think are working against him and going against his favor, are actually still part of his larger orchestration. So who knows? He anticipated and hoped all along that Sophia would snap and take down her whole freaking family. So like that is clearly not an unintended consequence of his orchestrations here. So it's like who's to say? Who's to say? Maybe he thought all along. You know, I think his ultimate goal is to take down both of the top families and establish his own reign. So perhaps it could be it's possible that it could be within his game plan to have orchestrated all of this, do them both dirty so that they are inclined to tag team and then they take each other down, you know, have everybody doing the dirty work for him. It seems like, I mean, he got his hands dirty last episode for sure. We're seeing how far he's willing to go.
Yeah, he did.
So yes, everybody's confirming Gotham's very fun. You guys would love that show. Gotham portrayed several characters very well. Oh yes, Gotham TV show is amazing. I loved the Riddler in the Gotham show. Yeah, I've always wanted to watch it. So who knows, maybe after this one we will tap into that. Lord Sidious says it perfectly. I am in love with the fact that they made me despise him for what happened to Sophia. Like,
they did a great job.
Yes.
They nailed that.
For real. Like, when we see his face again after she's arrested, it's like, oh, God. And a character we haven't talked about really is, who I think is an underdog in all of this, is Vic. Talk about another really dynamic, interesting, perspective and role for him, because I would argue he is the one saint-like character in all of this, or is he?
Yeah, it's very confusing because, like, I mean, we're introduced to him because he's Grand Theft Autoing Penguin's Maserati, and then Penguin starts to shoot at him, and then he, you know, gets stuck and
he has no
can't
choice.
move, he's captured. But then they gave us the episode where he's given the opportunity to follow his girlfriend to California, and when the moment comes, Penguin says, "Go, get out of here. I'm not holding you hostage. Leave." And he still makes that choice to stay behind and ultimately continue down this life and give up his opportunity to start a new life. So clearly there's some type of motivation. Clearly the shadiness and the mob mentality and everything that's going on hasn't scared him away, and clearly it's enticing to him in some capacity. So yeah, his character is very, very interesting.
Yeah, because he is such this, like, they paint him to be not necessarily fragile, but it's clear that he's a much gentler soul than what, you know, this life calls for. You know, is he really called out for the violence that this lifestyle demands? And then when you know, learn about the way Penguin so quickly turned on Sophia, you know, in favor of his own aspirations and ambitions, it's like then you think about Vic, who's in his grasp right now, who just gave up every opportunity to live a better life to follow in his freaking footsteps. So now it's like, when you learn the full backstory of how Penguin has betrayed people that he was loyal to in the past, you know, it's like, I feel like, is Vic in over his head too? Is he in danger? Could he suffer a similar fate to be a scapegoat? Would Penguin throw him under the bus? You know, I'm hesitant to believe that, because we've seen that Penguin has zero reason to be giving him all these opportunities, but he does see something in him. And they do have this kind of companionship now. I would say it's not even just a business transactional relationship. I think they're true partners in all of this, and he's kind of raising him in a way, but that's what is very dynamic and interesting about Vic, because yes, he presents as very fragile and gentle, and you recognize when he says, like, my father would be ashamed of me, but I think Penguin taps into his kryptonite of like, look, your father was living a decent, hardworking, honest man's life, and look where they got him. Like, you're at the bottom of the barrel right now,
Yep.
and you will probably stay there if you go down the same road. So I think Vic knows that, yes, he's got to resort to some more drastic and violent means, but it could get him to higher places. But I don't want him to be collateral in all of this. I think he's maybe like the one character that you can genuinely care about and believe like he is a good person who's has no choice, you
Yep.
know. I would like to believe.
Yeah.
Who knows? It could be especially tragic
But
if
he
he
did have a
comes out
choice.
of this. Technically,
He was given a choice.
yes.
He had a choice.
Yes.
I mean, maybe he doesn't like California. He was like, I don't really. If you were going to Wyoming, I would go with you, but you're going to California, I don't know.
Oh, like Alice makes a good point here. Do they really have a good actual relationship? Alice is saying he stayed because he's very impressionable, and the Penguin is a good manipulator. That's a really freaking good point. Did he stay for genuine reasons, or was he just a fellow victim? He's definitely not smart enough, I don't think, to read through the manipulation that other people fall for through the Penguin. So I don't know. Desperation plus fear equals doing anything, says Lord Insidious, and I think that's the perfect storm of circumstances that have combined for Vic. So, but I am fearful for him. I think he's like the one character who is like, he's not innocent anymore. He doesn't have clean hands, but I'm rooting for him in the overarching Sophia versus Penguin battle that is about to ensue. I don't know whose team I'm on. You're obviously inclined to feel something for Penguin when you learn more about where he started.
Yep.
And, you know, everything he's dealt with his entire life, always being walked all over and underestimated. So for him, you can empathize with wanting to prove everybody wrong. Everybody underestimates you. Okay, well, I'll take over the freaking entire city. Sophia, you see, you know, she's making a very clear choice. You know, she was molded by similarly, if not more violent and harrowing, you know, events to get her to this brink as well. I just think it's so funny that her therapist is he's like, sign me up, you know, the one person meant to keep her in check. I think his name's Julian.
Therapist.
The guy who was with her in Arkham, analyzing everything.
Oh, yeah.
Her
Yep.
doctor.
Yep.
He was the first person she called after Oz
Yeah.
betrayed her.
Yeah.
I'm just very curious to see why she's keeping him around. Especially because she's on to him. You know, she was suspecting all along. Do you actually genuinely care about me?
Yeah, he's gonna pull some betrayal move at some point, and then she's gonna bring his neck out.
Oh,
I think that's gonna happen.
I
can foresee that happening. So, while you're typing that, I lost it. Oh, we got teased with, they're hiding out in the flooded part of Gotham, and
Oh yeah,
they're
Squid.
hiding. Yeah, they go, and Vic is bringing Oz's mom into that building, and he's hiding from Squid, and then Squid sees him. So what is Squid gonna do? Is Squid gonna like just go bust the door down and get in there, or is Squid gonna use their location as some type of bargaining chip piece of information to raise his own standing? He doesn't seem like he's that clever
I was
to
gonna
use it as a
say,
bargaining chip, and he would just go in there guns blazing. But I don't know.
yeah.
Huh?
I think that's definitely. They made a point to acknowledge that he's very aware of their presence there, when Vic all along is trying to avoid him. So, um, I am curious, but I feel like him compared to like Sophia and the Maronis, like that's like bottom of the barrel in terms of the gangster, the threats at hand. I'm not. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll be regretting that. Squid, least scary name ever, says Bird Church. I think that was his name, correct? Who are you rooting for? Is our poll this evening. Assume poll positions, and everyone. Well, no, actually, it's an interesting split.
60-30 split.
So far.
60-40 split.
There's 31 of y'all watching and only 11 votes. Come on, if you watch the show, I know you have an idea. Maybe it's a hard one. I feel like, frick, okay, in this
After
moment.
the last two episodes,
Say
I think I gotta be Sophia.
Same. Same. I mean, especially because I think it's especially difficult because that she's got personal beef, that Oz is a huge reason for what happened to her. And when you see the totality of it and you learn that it was 10 years of wrongful imprisonment, like, go girl, take it. Like, frick. I feel differently about him too. I can't believe she trusted him again in the first place. It also is really putting it into perspective. They mentioned in this episode that she'd only been out for like 3 weeks. She's
Which
freshly.
is also crazy. Yeah.
She's freshly had a taste of freedom.
Yeah. I mean, they kind of hinted in the first couple episodes, like, oh, like fresh out of Arkham. They teased it, but not like, oh, she was there for 10 years, and oh, she literally got out 3 weeks ago. Like, 3 weeks relative to 10 years is a much bigger difference than at least what it seemed like they were hinting at in the first couple episodes. But they insinuated that it was relatively fresh news that the Hangman was out of Arkham, but not 3 weeks after being in there for 10 years. Like that was crazy. That was a crazy reveal.
Penguin's gonna survive, says Anatar. I agree. Like, it's his show. So I do think also, like, I'm rooting for Sophia now. I support all her wrongs right now, but she could go down a very drastic path. But we've already seen Oz go down a drastic path. There's been loss of life now. So we see that he's not messing around. He doesn't care if he's got blood on his hands, and clearly she does too. So it's like, who is the lesser of the two evils?
But this whole thing was spark plugged by Sophia's brother talking some serious nonsense to Oz's face, and then Oz made an impulse decision that set this whole story in motion. So obviously we see the betrayal when he was the driver 10 years ago, that like adds some more backstory into some Sophia Oz tension. But at least to spark plug this story, I mean, Sophia's brother was chirp, 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 and play stupid games, win stupid prizes, as they say. So it's like in that moment you felt for Oz, right? It was set up in a way where you felt for Oz.
Yes, but you still recognize how drastic and spontaneous it was.
It's a little extreme of a response for someone insulting you, but obviously he was doing it to hit a sore spot and making fun of him, and clearly Oz has been around the family for a long time. But then with the extra context, it's like, okay, Sophia's brother knows that Oz is why Sophia was in Arkham for 10 years, so obviously Sophia's brother doesn't really like Oz, and yet Sophia's brother sees that Oz has grown in the ranks in 10 years to Falcone's right-hand man. So when you look back on it, it's like, well, you kind of don't blame Sophia's brother for chirping and having ill will feelings towards Oz. So It's a mess of emotions trying to unravel all these characters.
Yeah. Insidious makes a really good point in reference to pre Arkham tenure before Sophia is indicted. When the hammer's about to come down and they're at that family party and she asks Oz what he's doing in the house. There was very subtle, allusions to like that one that would be like a throwaway line, but it actually packs such a punch when you realize the true dynamic, how low his status was in that family. And when she says things like, "You are my driver, nothing more," what do you legitimately think you could gain from this? You actually think this would get you public favor in the family? Like, you are so at the bottom of the barrel. So to see, and you guys were pointing out, somebody said, to be fair, that it was Carmine who subjected her to all of that. Oz, as I said, I still believe he had no clue that when he ratted her out to her father, sure, I think he probably saw something to gain from it, like trust, but I don't think he anticipated it would go that far as 10 years in Arkham. But they really did highlight how just at the bottom of the barrel he was to, like you said, that was the catalyst that helped him work his way to, quite literally, the right hand of the top. So, it's interesting. It's interesting to see who everyone's rooting for here. Oz is still taking the lead with 67%. Still 31 of you guys watching. I know some of you guys like to lurk, and I know some of you guys listen and still show up and support us every time, even if you don't know what the frick we're talking about. I know many of you guys will comment and be like, "I've never watched the show, but I'm still here." So you're excused if you've not watched. But it is definitely hard to choose a side. So I felt like Oz was into her, trying to protect her, and was naive enough to think that her father wouldn't punish her. That's fair. That's a fair assessment as well, Alice, because he did own it. You assume, based on the way he is talking about in hindsight, when he has a little mini heart-to-heart confrontation with Sophia of, "Yeah, I'm sorry for what happened to you, but do you think I regret that I got everything handed to me after that? Like, that made me happy." So you're inclined to believe that perhaps that was his intention all along, that he knew that he would reap some sort of benefit from it and get some good graces with the family. But Alice makes a really good point. Perhaps he genuinely was dumb enough to think that nothing would have come of that. Zero repercussions. Yep. So that's a fair point. Was it all calculated on his part? Because we see that things, again, this all goes back to the crux of the show. The whole theme that's been fun, the game of it all, is seeing what actually is part of his plan. Is he just getting lucky, or is all of it part of his plan? Just when you think it comes down to luck at times, and he happens to, timing works out and he's able to finesse in the moment if shiz hits the fan. He's been able to weasel enough so far, but perhaps that could have been an instance of he took credit for the situation, even though that wasn't in his plans.
No. Golden Age, Team Maserati. You're right. I'm changing my vote. I'm back to Team Oz.
Oh.
Nice car enthusiast. Team Oz all the way.
Maserati's gone now.
True. R.I.P.
I haven't
replace it with something far more powerful.
We'll see. Jerry's been listening and says, "I haven't even seen the Penguin show yet. You should definitely watch it, even though we just spoiled freaking everything. I'm so sorry." But there's still 3 episodes left, so we've not spoiled.
We haven't talked in detail.
Whatever has
Vague
happened.
plot points and themes and general things. But if you haven't watched, we're throwing out character names left and right. And you probably don't have any idea who we're talking about. So
That's true.
It means nothing until you watch the show.
Birdchurch says, "I think Oz was on her side until she snapped, called him her driver, etc., and then he was reminded of his place and wanted more." That's very fair. She had a moment of frustration and lashed out and put him in his place, and it's clear that he's never liked. That's, like you were saying, his soft spot, his sensitive point, what drove him to frickin' kill her brother on sight, Like, it's clear that he's got a temper and a short fuse when people belittle him and throw his status in his face.
Mess with the bull, you get the horns.
Yes. Yeah, I have no idea what you've been talking about, says Sean. Well, that's all right. You've been able to chime in with other Batman references, so you're clearly familiar enough. We just talked about a town called Gotham.
Yeah.
You mean the city that I single-handedly destroyed in the Batmobile? This is making me wish that I hadn't quit Arkham Knight, but...
And look what you did now. Everybody's in poverty because no one can afford to fix the infrastructure.
You'd think I did more damage to that place than the Riddler himself when he unleashed flooded the whole city. I think I single-handedly did do some more damage. They did not have enough insurance for me, that's all I'll say. Yep. Sweet lord, I'll never touch that game again with a 10-foot pole. I'm not gonna subject you all to that. I think I might go and maybe play the other games that don't have the godforsaken Batmobile. Perhaps.
No. Always an option.
Green Arrow Hunter says Superman and Lois is another great DC show that you guys should watch. I have heard really freaking good things about that show. And I know there's also so many like Batman cartoons. I don't know. There's a lot. There is a huge treasure trove of DC universe that I have not delved into yet. Yeah, you're not allowed to drive again for real. Just wait till GTA 6 comes out, y'all. Don't give us hope, says Charlie. I have to make a call. If you're still on, I'll come back. If not, enjoy the rest of your day. You too, Alice. Thanks for being here. We're probably going to wrap up soon. It's been our usual hour, so I'll just say peace out for now, and may the force be with you. I hope you're doing well, and thank you for being here. The hero Gotham deserves, but not the one it needs right now. For sure. For sure. Anatar makes a really good point. He hates being called the Penguin, which is so funny because that's the title of the show. So perhaps, I don't know, you're right, he hates it right now. Like, that is his kryptonite, his soft spot. That kind of reduces him back down to what is clearly repressed childhood torment, you know, when he was powerless as a kid. It brings all that back and you see him fuming beneath the surface. But I wonder if he does rise to the top, if he is successful in all of these ventures, if that will come to be a title that he, like, you know, embraces. I don't know.
Maybe. That'll make sense.
Yeah. Well.
Or he totally rejects it, but the show turns against him and it is Sophia, and then Sophia gets her vengeance. Because it's such a strong storyline against him. So if it was the Penguin and it was like a negative connotation and then he ends up losing, that can make sense too.
We'll see,
We
y'all.
shall see, ladies and gentlemen. We shall see.
Raise your banners, everybody. I'm still in like freaking House of the Dragon mode. Thanks to that show, I now feel inclined to choose a side every time. So, right now, I'm Team Sophia. But the way this show has gone, and based on how volatile everybody is, that could drastically change as of this upcoming Sunday, depending on what she does. Right now, I'm on her side. I'm in her boat. Like, okay, girl, you go get it. You go take what's yours, but she could push it too far to the point where I'm back on Team Oz. If I ever was on Team Oz, I don't know. They're all villains. They're all bad guys. That's what's fun about all of this. That's what I had to freaking disclaim for every single freaking House of the Dragon reaction I did. It was like a freaking moral obstacle trying to justify myself to everybody. But everybody, you know, in those comment sections, it was just hilarious because God forbid you say you're Team Green or Team Black and people would freaking question your ethics, your moral compass when it's freaking fiction, y'all. All right, this is all fake. So we'll see. As of now, Team Sophia. So thank y'all for casting your votes and for watching, of course, and joining us for a little over the midway season point here with only 3 episodes left. Team Sophia, no matter what, I stand with her, says Jay. We'll see.
There you go, Jay.
Ooh, we'll see. We will see. Team Sophia, heard. The Dark Knight team, says Charlie. True, best team of all. We are all villains here. He who remains, for real. That's what the deal is. So it's the lesser of two evils, but thank you guys so much for joining. I don't know if this will be the topic of discussion next week, in the event there's any upcoming Star Wars news or whatnot. Bird Church, thank you so much.
Bird Church.
Before we go, as long as Vic stays safe, I don't mind. Yes, 1000%, perfectly said. And thank you so much for your membership for 22 freaking months. My goodness. Stay tuned, members, actually. That reminds me, as we're approaching the end of this month and my Reactober reactions are coming to a halt, thank God. Stay tuned, because I'm going to be enlisting you all again for some moral support as we finish up. I think I've got 3 to go, so stay tuned, because I've saved some of the worst for last. So I'll be calling on y'all for a little watch party, perhaps coming up soon. But until then, Aiden, I'm so sorry. There's always freaking somebody who joins right as we are about to log off. It always freaking happens. I'm so sorry. We will catch you again next week. God, I hate it. Every week, there's always somebody. It's always an OG, too. It's like, always, dang it. I'm so freaking sorry. But we will be here next week. Same time, same place, as always. I hope you guys are doing so well, as always. I hope you have a great rest of your day, night, morning, evening, 3 a.m., wherever you may be. And we will see you guys again very, very soon.
See y'all later.
Bye, friends.